Hello everyone and welcome to my new channel. What do you need to start working with Jesmonite? You need Jesmonite itself, which is a two-part material which comes in powder, the base, and liquid. You need scales to measure your material because Jesmonite needs direct measurements, and you usually mix 1 part of liquid and 2.5 parts of powder, and you measure it in grams. You need your mold to work with, you need your measuring and mixing cups, you need your mixing tools, which can be just basic spatula, maybe the whisk, or drill attachments, which I use the most. Just need to attach them to your drill. You also need sandpaper to sand your final pieces, and you need sealer to seal your final pieces, as well as a sponge to apply the sealer and soft cloth to polish it. Let's start. Measure out your materials first. For this particular mold, you will need 37 grams of liquid and 93 grams of powder. Grab your mixing cup, put it on your scale, turn the scales on. Make sure your scales are in grams and add 0, so it does not count the weight of the cup itself. So we're gonna put 93 grams of powder into the first mixing cup. $94. So we're gonna remove a bit to make it 93. Here we go. Put this cup away. Put your next cup on a scale. Make sure it's at 0 again. And let's pour our liquid. Before using the liquid, make sure to mix it up. It needs to be mixed well. So let's pour the liquid. We need 37 grams of liquid for this mold. I got a bit more, so I'm just gonna pour it back in. So now it's at 37, and we can put our material away and start mixing. I'm going to use a spatula to mix the material. Always add powder into your liquid and do it in portions, so you can mix it as good as possible. Try not to have too many clumps in it. Add more, and I guess I'm gonna speed this part up. Jesmonite starts to set pretty quick, so you don't really have a lot of time to mix it, but you still need to do a good job. When the mixing is done and your material looks like this, it's time to start pouring. Grab your mold. Now I'm gonna start pouring. I start pouring close to the mold, and then I pick up my mixing cup high above and try to pour in a tiny slow flow as much as possible. I can also use my hand to move the mold around. All of this is to eliminate as much bubbles as possible. You can use a spatula to help your material to come out of the mixing cup. to pick up as much as you can. Shake your mold a bit. It will also help to eliminate some bubbles. You can see the bubbles forming and coming out. You can also use cocktail stick to pop those bubbles and to go around your rims to try and eliminate as much bubbles as possible. After you've done this part, tap your mold again. You can see they're still coming out, all those bubbles. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it to set for 20 to 30 minutes. And then I'll be back to unmold it. So it's been about 25-30 minutes. The piece is cold, it's definitely set. So when it's not warm to touch anymore, you can unmold it. So let's try it. You see the air bubbles on this side and it's totally normal. Let's unmold this piece and we'll see how it worked out. Here we go. It has some kind of dots, the pattern on it. It's just sweating off the material. This will be gone in about 24 to 48 hours. We do have some air bubbles and this is also absolutely normal for Jesmonite. For simple pieces like that, which is solid color one or marble one, non-terrazzo pieces, we don't need to sand the top of the piece because it's already perfect. Part of this piece we need to sand is the bottom because it has pretty sharp edges. So that's the only part we need to sand. And for this exact piece and for this exact technique, I'm just gonna use the sandpaper. Dry, not wet. Please put your masks on if you do dry sanding. So I'm just gonna get my sandpaper. This one is 320 dry and wet sandpaper. And I'm just gonna basically sand the edges off. There's one more thing I would suggest is not to sand the bottom, because all those air bubbles will open up and you will have holes. So the edges are not sharp on touch anymore, so I basically can finish the sanding. For now, I'm gonna leave the piece to dry for about 24 hours or just basically overnight before I can proceed to sealing. It's been about 24 hours and now it's time to seal the piece. I'm gonna seal it with wax. Just gonna use my makeup sponge and apply it all over the piece. Don't forget the edges and the rims. And now I will polish it with my soft cloth. You can apply a second layer if you wish, if you know the piece is going to be used for drinks or something, so it's going to have more protection. As you see, my piece has some darker spots here and lines. This is not because of the material, this is because my mold was used for different color before and I didn't properly wash it. That's the only reason. For this piece, I will apply cork bottom to it. It's self-adhesive one, really easy to apply. And it's done.